Hi, welcome. Thanks for so much for joining us. My name is Agnes Stowicki. I'm the managing editor with Our Kids. And today we're going to talk about the advice on managing the costs of tuition. What's included, what are some fees that you may not be aware of, as well as what are some tax credits, financial aid, or scholarships that you may also be eligible for. So let's jump in here. All right. So if you're considering private school, then budget and tuition is definitely going to be a part of your criteria. So tuition fees will range if you've started to look around and look at various options that are available to you. You may have already seen that tuition ranges or tuition fees can range a fair bit. Majority of schools, as you see here identified in this chart, come in somewhere between 10,000 and 22,000 per year. So that per year is typically a September through to June enrollment fee, excluding the summer months. Now, this is for day school tuition. If you are looking at boarding schools, those fees will be higher as there is a boarding fee for living on campus, as well as meals and additional care that would be required for those students. Boarding fees typically in Canada, as we do see, are running anywhere from 40,000 to 80,000, sometimes a little bit more, depending on the school and what's involved. Now you may wonder, why is there such a range? Why do some schools have larger tuition fees? Why do some schools have smaller ones? And there's a lot of factors that influence that. The biggest one is probably faculty and staff, and for many schools, about 80 to 85% of tuition fees typically go towards the faculty and the staff. Something that all schools and private schools in particular, they're really looking for quality teachers that are dedicated to the students, that are dedicated to the school, and that will grow with the school as well. And so public schools have very competitive rates, and private schools also do need to keep up with those rates in order to attract quality staff. It is also something that you likely will want to look for. So what is the staff turnover at schools? If it is high, that is typically a red flag that we often do call out for. Other factors that will affect your tuition, of course, are school size, classroom supplies. But school size, if a school has a very large or elaborate campus, they have swimming pools and hockey field or hockey arenas and football fields, those cost additional fees to just simply maintain and operate. And so parts of your tuition will be going towards just the upkeep and the maintenance of the school campus itself. For smaller school buildings or campuses, then they may have smaller fees, smaller property taxes, and so forth. So their tuition fees may be able to be a little bit smaller. Transportation and meal services, if those are included or not included, that may impact your tuition fees, as well as financial aid. Some schools that do offer larger financial aid opportunities to students, they may have a portion of your tuition fees going to support other students as well. So there's lots of different factors, and every school is going to be a little bit different. Schools do have a very clear understanding of this, and if it is something that's of interest to you, don't hesitate to ask them. Join in on a Zoom call today, ask the schools those questions, or if you're booking a one-on-one meeting and that's important to you, you could certainly ask them if they have an overview of their budgets and what percentage goes to what aspects of the school. Now, what is and isn't included in tuition? So you look at a tuition fee, if it's $15,000, $22,000, $35,000, what do you get for that? So of course it includes, the education of your child throughout the academic year. But there are other aspects that are included with that. And again, it will depend school to school of what is included and what is not included. This is an overview. It's by no means, set in stone. So do please, again, speak with the schools that you're considering and get a good understanding of what their fee structure looks like. But some things that you could save on, a lot of parents that turn to private or independent schools maybe already have their child enrolled in some extra tutoring or some extra academic programs outside of their regular school. So you may be able to save on those fees, as that may be already included in your tuition fees. Teachers' education is often very close one-on-one. There's some extra support that may be available before school or after school, some clubs or academic or extracurricular programs as well that your child will be able to be involved in. So that's all typically included. Some things that usually are not, a registration fee, an application fee, an entry bond. So this is something that some schools request. When you enroll for the first year, you provide a bond or a loan to the school that will be given back to you once your child graduates or leaves. Some parents do donate that to claim tax credits if available at the start, rather than waiting for the return to it or return of it to them. But this is something to be aware of as well, that it is a one-time fee upon registration and the first acceptance of your child into the school. Textbooks and technology, laptops or tablets, if there may be some additional fees for those as well. Uniforms, of course, if the school does have the uniforms, and maybe larger field trips, as well as sports teams. So one thing that is key to understand is, for some schools that do have maybe more advanced or competitive sports teams, such as hockey teams, there may be an additional fee above the tuition fee in order to play on that team. So you may need to pay an extra, say $5,000 for the year in order to be a part of the hockey team, which includes the training, the ice time, tournaments, and different things like that may be included as well. So if your child is really adamant about being on a team like that, make sure that you do have the ability to cover those costs as well, or at least are aware of them before you do choose that school to enroll into. And then some schools will offer busing, others or other forms of transportation, as well as meals. So just an overview of things to be aware of. So as you can kind of really put together a full picture of what the total expenses you're looking at by enrolling your child into a private or independent school. So how about paying for school? What opportunities are there? Do schools offer anything? There certainly are payment plans in schools. They're really looking for excellent students, not just excellent academic students, but well-rounded students that are going to contribute to the culture and the environment of the school. And so they're going to work with you to make sure that you can have your child there and that your child thrives at that school. Certainly full payment options are available. Often schools may offer a discount. So if you pay early, or if you're able to pay your tuition in full, then you may be able to get a discount of 10% or so on your tuition fees. Otherwise, monthly payments or installments are fairly common with schools, to make sure that you're able to spread that out over the course of the 10 months of education. Some schools often have also, particularly during this time period, have been really flexible to try to help parents or help support parents who already have their children enrolled at the schools, to offer deferred payments or tuition support programs or things like that. So do ask about them. Siblings discounts, if you do have more than one child, then typically there's a 5% or 10% discount on the second child. One thing, many Christian schools or faith-based schools will also offer a family rate. So first child will be a one rate, a second child will be at a discounted rate, and a third and fourth child will be at a fairly considerable discount. So that's something, if budget's quite important to you and you are looking at a faith-based school, that's something that may work for your family as well. And something to think about as well is just to ask, be open with the schools, and if they could ask, if you could donate a skill or your time that the school needs, there may be an opportunity for you to do that as well. So, have an open conversation. They're really, the teams at the schools are really there to answer your questions, and they're they're waiting for it. So it's money is often something that we don't like to talk about, and particularly our personal finances. But it is important that when you are choosing to invest in a school, that you're able to do that comfortably as well. So what tax credits are available? In general, private school tuition is not tax deductible on its own, but these are some of the tax credits that you will want to look at. And so I would recommend jot these down and have a chat with your accountant. Make sure that you are applying. So most of these you do need to apply for. You won't just naturally or automatically receive them. The child tax benefit, the universal child care benefit, they're smaller amounts, but every little bit will help towards paying for your child's education. And if you are able to qualify for them, then it's all the better if you're able to make sure that you are receiving them. If your child takes transit, you could take a transit pass tax credit. In BC, there's an additional family bonus that's available. And if the school is a charitable, the school can provide a charitable tax credit if they provide a portion of their education that is religious. So faith-based schools, as an example, may be able to give you a tax receipt for a portion of that education as well. Okay. Now, if your child has a medical expense or a disability, even if whether it's mild or more severe, things as ADHD or ADD, then you may be able to qualify with a T2201 form signed by a doctor for a medical tax credit or a disability tax credit, where your child is to go to an independent or private school because of their learning needs, and you'll receive a tax credit for that. So that is something that if you do have a child with a learning disability or mild or severe or another form of medical disability or condition, that it is important that you do look into that. Some programs and strategies as well that you may want to look at. Tax-free savings account. This is really just an opportunity to kind of build up some money. If you do have two parents that are able to put in $5,000 a year, by the time your child is 6, then you will have saved a fairly amount of money to be able to invest in education. Family trusts are another opportunity. Again, you'd want to talk to, of course, a financial planner with this, as well as just every situation is very different. Every family is different in terms of what you're available, what you're looking at, and where you're coming from. But this is a unique opportunity where you can divert some of your income and earnings to your children, regardless of their age, through a family trust that could save you on income tax. So if you're able to do that, then that could be a unique strategy to pay for private school tuition as well. But again, please do speak with a financial planner around these strategies and what will work for you. With the family trust in particular, there's some banks that offer these programs. Otherwise, if you want to set one up, you would need a lawyer for this as well. Okay. Now we're going to dive into scholarships and financial aid. Now, we always get quite a number of questions with regards to what scholarships are available, and do I qualify for financial aid, and what's involved and what does that look like. So let's debug some of those for you. Scholarships are typically merit-based. So although there may be a need-based aspect to it, typically they are either related to academics, sports, arts, or something else completely different. They may be set up by an alumni that went to the school and has donated, or a company that has donated to the school. And they essentially at times, they can put the restrictions around who qualifies for that scholarship. Okay, so it may be something very unique, or maybe something quite broad. They're either one-time or renewable. So if it's a one-time scholarship, you'll receive it just at the one moment, right? You'll receive it just at that one moment. Otherwise, you may have it that it renews. So every year you're able to either reapply for that, or you're automatically receiving that scholarship every year. Some scholarships are exclusive to new students, and others will be exclusive to current students. So scholarships such as, for the student in grade 7 moving on to grade 8th grade that has the highest academic standing, for example, will receive a one-time scholarship for their grade. That goes towards their 8th grade tuition. And in terms of the range, they can go from small amounts, $500, $1,000, all the way to full tuition fees. So there is quite a wide range of scholarships, and there are a lot available out there. I'll show you some examples. I mentioned some. So, for example, a top student entering grade 7 for a new entry year scholarship could be an example. A student or a child or a grandchild of an alumni could receive a scholarship or a grant. A student, a student from Ukraine or Eastern Europe that also has additional criteria, or a Mandarin-speaking student entering grade 1. So you'll see that they range from quite broad to quite specific in terms of their requirements. Some scholarships, at some schools, you may only be able to apply for one scholarship. So if they do offer multiple, you'll want to have a look to see which one do you think you'll have the greatest chance of achieving or obtaining, and then put your effort into applying for those ones. On our website, ourkids.net/financial aid, you will find a list of scholarships as well as financial aid opportunities. So you can have a quick peek there to see what's available. And the links will go through to the school profiles, and you'll be able to just drop down into the tuition and financial aid section, and you'll have a nice overview of some of the financial aid as well as scholarship opportunities that school has available. As you browse and chat with schools today at the Virtual Expo as well, then I'll show you where on their profile cards you'll see which schools are offering financial aid and which ones may not. Needs-based financial aid is typically, or the term financial aid is typically for a need-based. So it's more closely related to your income. We typically in Canada, we have, or not typically, but schools in Canada have more than $50 million available in aid every year. The vast majority of it does come from larger schools that do have larger alumni networks that sort of donate back into this financial aid fund for the schools. But there are certain schools that have, on their own, over $2 million that they have available to students. Now, why is it that schools are offering financial aid to students? They're not a bank. They're not out there to loan money out or to give money out necessarily. What they're really looking for is to build a great community and a great culture at the school where every child will have an opportunity to really grow and to really experience something unique. And so with financial aid, that's really what they're looking for. They're looking at bringing in students that are diverse, that are bringing in students that can bring something new and a strong perspective to the school, and an advantage to the school as well. So average financial aid values per student typically range around $10,000 to $12,000. But again, there's opportunities that are higher and lower. Sometimes, usually anywhere between 25 to 50% of your tuition fees may be covered by financial aid. And there are schools that have about 20 to even 40% of students that are receiving some level of financial aid. So it is common, and it's not something that you should be cautious of or weary of asking. Again, I'm going to reinforce that schools expect this. If you're considering a school that you would love, but you're just not sure if you can make it work financially, ask them about what is available. You can go through that financial aid process and see if you do qualify for receiving some financial aid to help support sending your child to that particular school. And again, they could quite range again in smaller amounts all the way up to some rare ones with full tuition. Here's a quick breakdown in terms of the ARCIS member schools and what percentage of them do offer financial aid. So about 42% of our Kids member schools do currently offer some level of financial aid to students, okay? In the younger grades, it's less common. Typically in higher grades, it's quite a bit more common. And boarding schools in particular also have a larger, often have a larger aid endowment that they're able to offer to students. So here's just some important highlights that I want to make sure that you're aware of. One, applications for financial aid are typically assessed by a third party. So you don't have to worry about if your application for financial aid is going to impact your application for admission. Okay, they're two separate entities. They certainly work together, but one does not have an impact on the other. So a third party, most schools use a company called Apple Financial. You work with directly and submit all your papers directly there. They basically assess your situation. You do have to be quite open, so be ready to disclose all of your information in terms of the finances that they're going to need. They assess your situation, and then they provide a result back to the school to say that this family, we see that this family would qualify for X amount of dollars. Okay, the school takes that. They put that paper with your acceptance letter if you were accepted, and that gets mailed to you. So you do have, you are able to identify or if you do qualify for financial aid during your, when you have to make that decision of acceptance or not, but the decision is made exclusive. So, there could be a student that qualifies for financial aid, but was not going to receive an offer letter, or vice versa as well. Aid distribution is also based on what you can afford. So it's not necessarily just your income. There are families out there that are, have family incomes of more than $200,000 and they're still qualifying for financial aid. Maybe they have multiple kids in private school. Maybe they have a number of properties or other expenses. And so what they're able to afford is lower, and the school may still, or Apple Financial, the third party company, may still see that family does qualify to receive some level of financial aid. So, even if you think that you don't qualify, that may not necessarily be the case. Okay. The funds are also distributed first come, first serve, essentially. So if it is something that you are looking for or you think you may need, then do ask about it early, and do please submit your applications as early as possible as well. So you don't want to be disappointed if those funds are no longer available and the endowment has fully been provided or released. And the one thing you want to be aware of as well is that you do, for financial aid in particular, you do need to reapply every single year. Okay, so it just because you receive it during 1 year, it doesn't mean that you're going to get it every single year. You are going to have to go through that process year after year. So as you're going through the expo hall today and you're chatting with schools, these are some things that you're going to want to chat about or ask about. But you'll also see here that we do have highlighted their tuition fees. So as soon as you open up any of these, and that the school does offer financial aid. So if you are looking for one that in particular, maybe their tuition looks a little bit higher than what you think you can afford, but it is something that you think would be the ideal fit for you or your child, then you can chat with them. Just jump in, click that join room button, and you'll be able to jump in and ask any questions that you have in terms of the school or the aid that they have available as well. Now, this is just a quick overview of some of the things that we just chatted about. It's also available on our website under the Paying for Private School section. So grants and scholarships that schools may have available. You can also keep an eye out for company grants. Sometimes larger companies that you're working for, they may have some funding available to support your family and your children as well to go to school. So have a peek around there and look around what's available with companies that you're working with as well. Tax breaks, so make sure you do speak with your accountant as well as your financial planner about the opportunities that are available and that you're able to apply for any of those tax breaks that you would qualify for. Particularly, again, if you do have a child that has a special need or a learning need or additional medical requirements. And then with your financial planner, again, bring up the idea of the family trust if that's something that may work for you, as well as, of course, the tax-free savings accounts. Mutual funds and life insurance are also opportunities to that some families do use in order to save, often for post-secondary education. But if you're speaking with a financial planner, maybe bring those ideas up as well with them. And then, if it is something that you really need, there are the options of loans as well. And as I mentioned from the start, be very open with the schools. They're there to really find a match for a student to the school. And again, they're not banks. They're not going to be able to loan you money or anything like that, but they will do their best to work with you and make sure that if it is a right fit, that your child's there and that is a right fit for the family, that they will work with you to make sure that they could do whatever is in their power to do as well. As you do go through today's sessions and you do chat with the schools, here are some things that you can ask them, or to double check on their website. Sometimes they have this information available as well. So how much is your yearly tuition and for your particular child's grade and program? So some schools you'll see offer that we show a range of tuition. Some grades may be more expensive than others, and some programs may be more expensive than others. So if a school has an option of an IB program or not, sometimes that IB program may be a little bit more expensive because of the examination fees or additional things that are required around that. Typical, like if you are also looking for a longer period of time, you may want to know what is a typical year-to-year increase. So what can you expect this year, but what are you looking at next year and the following year and so forth as well. How is tuition paid? Is it paid month to month? Can you pay in lump sums? Are there opportunities to defer? Or, if your child's attending for 2 years, can you spread payments out over 4 years? All certain things that you can ask the schools. Payment plans and discounts as well, as we talked about. And of course, what specifically does it include? So the schools will be able to, they have a good understanding of average costs that you should be able to expect for a year's tuition or a year's investment at the school. So ask them for that. Ask them for a full outline of what are your application fees? What are your registration fees? Is there a loan or a bond that is required? What are the fees for additional programs or sports or other things that you may be involved in? And simply just ask them. They should be able to give you a nice outline and a nice overview, so you have a clear understanding of what to expect. Because you don't want to go into this and then feel that you're surprised that there's additional things that you were unaware of. So what can you do today? Today, certainly you can jump in and ask all these questions, have chats with all the schools that are on your yes and maybe lists, or have a browse through other schools that are available here today. It is only 4 hours. And also book those roundtables and one-on-one meetings. So particularly around finances is something that's a bit more personal, of course. So you may want to have a private conversation. So if you just book the one-to-one discovery meetings, that is an opportunity where you can make sure that you ask your most important questions directly to the school in a more private setting. And the roundtables, if you haven't had a chance to RSVP for those as well. Those are really great because you're going to hear from current parents and alumni about their experience. So less so around the finances side, but more around the culture and the experience, what they expected, what they didn't expect, and what the strengths and the weaknesses of the schools are. So if you are ready, you can certainly request the application packages. Those typically provide an overview as well of tuition fees and what's expected. So you can get ready and get those ready as well. So we can do that all today through the portal. I know our goal really is to help you make a more informed school choice. So I hope that I've been able to do that today with this information seminar. We do have a lot of information, additional information online. And as always, if you have any questions, we are available through this chat. So please do ask those. I'm happy to answer them for you or any of our team members. And we'll get back to you as soon as possible. So enjoy your day. Go and chat with those schools. And if there's anything that we can help with, know that we're here as well. All right. Enjoy.